All right, welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're talking about something that a lot of people are calling the next big thing in AI. I'm talking about AI agents. So, we've gotten pretty used to AIs that can chat with us, right? They can write an email, answer a trivia question. But what if AI could go beyond just talking and start doing? Imagine this. You don't just get a recipe for dinner, the AI finds it, orders all the groceries for you, and even schedules the delivery? That's the jump we're talking about. That's the world of AI agents. So here's what we're going to break down. First, what exactly is an AI agent? Then we'll look at its anatomy. What makes it tick? We'll walk through the five-step mission it follows to get stuff done. After that, we'll get into how these things are evolving. And finally, we'll tackle the big one, the incredible promise and the very real risks. Okay, let's kick things off with the basics. What's the fundamental difference between an AI agent and the AI we already know and use every day? So here's the official definition. But let's break it down. An AI agent isn't just a passive information machine, it's an active goal seeker. And the magic words here are think, plan, and act. See, it uses a language model to reason, just like other AIs. But then, and this is the key, it uses tools to actually take action. And this right here really paints the picture. A standard AI, like your typical chatbot, it's an information provider. You ask for a recipe, boom, you get a recipe. An AI agent, though, is a task completer. It doesn't stop at the recipe. It figures out the next steps, it places the grocery order, it books the delivery. It's the difference between just answering and actually doing. So, how do these agents actually do all this stuff? To get it, we've got to pop the hood. The best way to think about it is like a digital worker made up of four core components. First up, you've got the model. This is the brain, plain and simple. It's the core large language model. Think something like a GPT or Gemini that does all the heavy lifting, the reasoning, the planning, the decision making. This part figures out what needs to be done. But a brain can't do much without hands, and that's where the tools come in. Think of these as the agent's hands. They're the APIs and little bits of software that let it actually interact with the digital world. Send an email, search Google, pull from a database, you name it. This is how it gets things done. Okay, so you've got a brain and you've got hands. What connects them? That would be the orchestration layer. This is basically the nervous system of the agent. It's a super important control system that manages the whole flow, telling the model, okay, time to think, and then, all right, now's the time to use a tool and act. And last but not least, we have the deployment. If the model is the brain and the tools are the hands, then this is the body. It's just how the agent exists in the world. Is it running on some server? Is it inside an app on your phone? Is it talking to you in a chat window? This is what makes it real and accessible to us. All right, so we've got the anatomy of our digital worker down. Now let's see it in action. How does an agent go from getting a command to finishing the job? Well, it follows this really cool, continuous five-step loop. First, it gets its mission, step 1. Then it scans the scene, kind of like a detective gathering all the data it needs. Step 3, it thinks and comes up with a plan. After that, it's go time. It takes action with its tools. And then, and this part is so important, it observes what happened, learns from it, and tweaks its approach. It just keeps repeating that cycle until the job is done. Let's use a real-world example to make this stick. Imagine you tell it, track my parcel. Okay, so it reads your request. Then it checks your order history to find the right package. Next, it uses a tool, in this case, the delivery company's API, to get the live tracking info. And finally, it gives that info back to you. Simple, right? But also totally autonomous and super effective. But here's the thing, that's just the start. Not all agents are the same. They actually exist on this whole spectrum of capabilities. And where this is all headed is, honestly, pretty mind-blowing. Okay, check this out. At level 0, you've got an AI that can only reason, no tools. Level 1 is a connected agent, so it can use a web search. At level 2, we get strategic agents that can handle multi-step plans. Now it gets interesting. Level 3 is where you have entire teams of agents working together. But level 4 is where things get really futuristic. We're talking about agents that can learn on their own, that can build new tools for themselves. They literally evolve without us needing to step in. So, this crazy fast evolution brings us to our last big topic, the incredible promise of all this, and, of course, the very serious perils we have to watch out for. So why should you care about any of this? Well, it really boils down to their ability to automate really complex stuff. We're not talking about just one task at a time. Agents can manage entire workflows. They get smarter over time by learning from feedback, and maybe coolest of all, they can work together in digital teams to solve problems that are just way too big for any person to handle alone. But with all that power comes some pretty big risks. I mean, the challenges here are huge. How do you stop an agent from doing something it's not supposed to, something maybe even dangerous? That's security. How do you make sure it's reliable and gives you accurate results every single time? And think about it. When companies start using thousands of these things, how on earth do you manage and govern them all safely? And just to be clear, this isn't some far-off sci-fi concept. Agents are already out there in the wild. They're doing things like handling customer support chats, helping scientists analyze huge amounts of data, and even helping software developers write and test their own code. When you boil it all down, it comes back to this one really powerful idea. We're watching AI make the jump from being a passive thinker to an active doer. And that single shift from just processing information to actually taking action is exactly why agents are the next massive frontier for all of tech. And that leaves us with one final and maybe the most important question. For the first time ever, we're building tools that don't just give us answers, they can actually act for us. So the question isn't just, what can AI do anymore? The real question is, what will we ask it to do? Thanks for joining me.